So we're gonna set off here in the CX-9 and I guess we'll get an acceleration here. And we're in the automatic mode. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're gonna be going over a 2021 Mazda CX-9 Signature. With all that being said, let's get right into the review. Under the hood, we have a turbocharged 2.5 liter 4-cylinder that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 20 around town and then 26 on the highway, with power outputs being 227 horsepower and then 310 pound-feet of torque. And word on the street is if you put premium gas in this, you'll get 250 horsepower. Pretty cool. Now let's go over the front end of the CX-9 Signature. So first off, I love the design they've done on the hood. So they do this kind of like large flat portion in the center, and then notice how they have these nice body lines right here. Overall, it gives it this larger, kind of more imposing look from a front end perspective, and just looks beautiful overall. Now coming down below, we've got these nice LED lights, and then on top of that, it's probably pretty hard to see here in the daytime, but there's another LED light here on the center portion, so it kind of illuminates the front grille. Definitely looks really cool stylistically. We've got the Mazda logo there in the center, which also doubles as a sensor, and there's a camera right there at the bottom of the logo, and then you guys can probably see the fog lights peeping there at the bottom. And yeah, that's all for the front end. Now coming around the side here, we've got two 55mm tires wrapped around 20-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well. And then as for the design on the wheel, they didn't do something too crazy. They kept it pretty basic, but I do love the metallic flake here with the coloration on the wheel. And then we do have this plastic molding here for the fender flares, and then it is also on the bottom portion, but they do some chrome accenting to kind of break things up. And they also do that around the window frames as well to kind of break everything up. And well, other than that, that is pretty much everything for the side. Popping here to the rear of the CX-9, first off, we've got some extra storage space underneath there. And then in terms of the storage space back here, it's pretty decent behind the third row, but if you need more storage space, just fold down the third row. The third row passengers do get some cup holders and then a USB, and then if you're wondering how to pick up the third row, just grab the latch right there and then just pull it forward, and then just pull the headrest up. Well, actually pull it up, and then it'll all lock into place. I guess I've got some butterfingers today, but yeah, other than that, that is everything for the back. And so yeah. Now let's finish things up with the design here in the rear, and I feel like this is kind of the more old school design with Mazda, where everything's kind of more rounded off, and then you can see here with the taillights as well. They still look really good, but again, it's kind of more to like the older school design they used to have. And I love how they have the chrome that goes straight through right there on the back. I think that looks really cool stylistically. And then we have another piece of chrome accenting down below, and then we have one exhaust tip, and wait for it, another exhaust tip, parking sensors integrated into that bottom bumper, and well, that's everything for the back. Now popping here into the back, first off, we've got this sunshade for the rear passengers, and then since this is a Signature, we get the beautiful dark brown leather, and then you can see all the other accent pieces, and then the stitching is even up here on the grab handle. And then we've got some piano black trim surrounding the window control, and then one of the speakers there for the sound system. And then here are the seats, absolutely beautiful. I love how we have the perforated leather and then the quilted design here on the outside. Looks fantastic, and these seats are very comfortable. Speaking of that, let's pop in, and as always, what are those? I wore the Tivas today, guys. Special occasion, I guess. But if you guys are wondering, I'm actually 6 foot now. I grew like an inch over the course of this year. I don't know how, I don't know why, not gonna complain, but I fit back here very comfortably. Legroom's great, got some storage space right there. We have some climate controls here for the rear passengers, and then we do get some heated seats as part of this whole center console system. So we've got cup holders, and then we actually have a full center console with some USBs. And yeah, I think this whole setup actually looks really cool. But now let's head to the third row. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, but third row. Well, as you guys can see, well, I'll pull the seat back here for, well, actually it's on the slider, so there we go. Now, as you can see, I actually fit back here. My head is pretty much touching the top, and you guys can see my legs are kind of like folded up like this. So for long trips, probably not put adults back here, but you could fit them in a pinch. Kids would fit here comfortably. Let's head to the front. So I was admiring this leather right here, and then I noticed, speaking of kids, whoever had this before me left me a little bit of candy and a French fry. Thank you, I guess. Now here's the door panel in the front. You can see design-wise, it's pretty much identical to the rear door panel. Notice we do get this really nice wood trim here around the piano black trim that surrounds the window controls. And then here is the front seat. So again, we've got that beautiful leather with the quilted design, perfect leather in the center. All of your power adjustments are here on the side, and then it does have a memory seat function. And then there is the pedal layout down below, and then we've got this for the hood latch release, and that for the gas cap release. And then over here we've got this for the rear hatch, the camera view, lane departure, and then this is actually our hill climb assist, and then we've got that for the parking sensors, and that's where we're gonna look before we pop in. So here's the steering wheel in the CX-9. First off, we got this beautiful leather wrapped around it, and then we've got the nice stitching here on the center portion. And then this does come with adaptive cruise control. We've got our voice command, phone controls, volume controls on the other side. We do have paddles there for that 6-speed automatic. You've got the control there for the light, stalk, and turn signal, winch wiper stalk on the other side. And that's all for the steering wheel. So we've got the gauge cluster here for the CX-9, which looks absolutely fantastic. And then we've got a couple different menus you can scroll through here in the center portion with all that, or you can just have it be a little gauge cluster. Now we do have drive mode select, so we've got our sport mode and our normal mode, and well, that is pretty much it. And then it pops up right above the gear that you're in, and that's all for the gauge cluster. Now here's the center infotainment system. First off, we're gonna pop it into reverse. You guys can see the backup camera. We do have trajectory lines that turn with the steering wheel, and then you've got that bird's eye view as well, which is definitely a nice feature. And then something else I wanna show about the camera system is we have a front camera as well. So when you go from reverse to drive, it'll pop on the front camera. So parking this is super easy, and also that bird's eye view helps out a massive amount. Now as for the rest of the infotainment system, it is not a touchscreen, so as you can see, nothing's happening. You control everything via a dial. It's really easy to use. Actually, it didn't really take me all that long to get used to it, and everything's pretty self-explanatory. So like you can see it says menu there on the side. I can pop that on, and then I can go to like the tuner controls, for example, and then I can change the radio station. So yeah, overall really easy to use, and there's a bunch of shortcut buttons as well. So like I've got the button for the home screen, I've got the button for the navigation, and so yeah, overall it's a good infotainment system even though it's not a touchscreen. We've got our hazard light button right in between two vents, and then our heated steering wheel button. We've got all of our climate controls down here. This comes with heated and cooled seats for the front passengers. Again, the rear passengers just have those heated seats. And then here's the shifter for that 6-speed automatic, and then it does have that manual shift mode you can use via the shifter or the paddles. And then here's our drive mode select. And then this is the infotainment system. So you've got like your volume control, and then all of the shortcut buttons with a dial that you go through all of the different gauges, or rather menus on the infotainment system. And then our parking brake right here with our auto hold. We've got a couple cup holders, and then we have pretty interesting center console, which opens up kind of funny, but notice storage space is good, and we've got some USB ports in there. And then pretty normal glove box. We have one window sticker here, but don't worry, we have another window sticker there. We are set in the form of window stickers. And then we've got nice trim here on the rest of the dash. And then also, so I'm gonna mention design-wise is I love how this trim right here flows into the vent. Notice how it's like all one line right there. I think that's really cool from a design perspective. Now up top here, we do have a sunglass holder, and we do get a sunroof here for the front passengers. Control for the sunroof is just right there. And then all black headliner. So here's our window sticker for this 2021 CX-9. You can see the interior color is called Deep Chestnut. And then you guys can see all of the features that this comes with from the factory. If you want to read all of the options, then feel free to freeze the frame. And then you can see there's not that much optional equipment. The Signature pretty much comes fully loaded. So you can see total MSRP, $48,200. Let's take her out and see how she drives. Let's talk about visibility here on the CX-9 before we set off. There's your visibility over the hood, and you can see the heads-up display now. Here's your visibility through both of the mirrors. They do have blind spot monitoring, and then the rest of the rear, and let's set off. So we're gonna set off here in the CX-9, and I guess we'll get an acceleration here. And we're in the automatic mode. Yeah, definitely quick from an acceleration standpoint. Obviously, this powertrain feels quite a bit peppier in something like the CX-5 or the CX-30, especially in like the Mazda 3, because that's such a small car. To have the amount of power this powertrain produces is pretty crazy. But it's still powerful in this CX-9. And you guys got to remember, because it's turbocharged, it does really good here at elevation. Right at this point, we're roughly at about 5,000 feet, if you guys are wondering. Now, I do have it in the sport mode. I do want to try out the manual shifts coming up here. I've got this fun little twisty road, because I mean, that's what Mazdas are all about, is fun handling characteristics and great steering as well. Yeah, transmission is actually pretty responsive on downshift. And kind of come around the corner here, and then we'll punch it. I can see why it short shifts. So when you're in automatic mode, it short shifts quite a bit, because redline is around 6,000 RPMs, and it usually goes up to just over 5,000 and shifts. Power does kind of drop off above 5,000 RPM, so it makes sense that it actually does that short shifting. But let's talk about how the CX-9 drives. So first off, steering is great. For a third row SUV, it's crazy. You can actually feel a little bit happening through the steering wheel. And I just love the quickness of the steering rack itself. Really good turn in, and it's just really quick to respond overall. Now, aside from that, in terms of ride quality, it's actually very smooth, even on the highway. Obviously, we're not on the highway right now, but when you do take highway trips with this, it's very smooth, very compliant, and quiet as well. And then in terms of the noise insulation, like I said, it's very quiet, but wind noise is very minimal. And just overall, it definitely has a luxury car feel. And the fact that it has these really nice leather seats really adds to that, because they're very comfortable. They're actually a little bit more on the soft side of things, but I really like them overall. The bolsters are pretty wide, so if you're a bigger person, you'll fit in the seats very comfortably. And overall, it's just a great seat is what I would say. And then you guys can kind of see here with the steering, you get like a little bit of feedback with it, but on top of that, it's just very direct. Mazda just knows how to make good steering racks. Aside from that, fuel economy's been pretty good. I mean, you guys saw it was averaging like 17 miles per gallon, and I mean, that's me like flooring it all the time, because that's just how I drive, right? I'm 23 years old. I like to have fun, okay, people? But yeah, just overall from a feature standpoint, it's great. It's really comfortable. It's a really solid third row SUV. I don't really have anything bad to say about it. The only thing that I guess I would say is that I do think that Mazda should offer this with a more premium powertrain than what this already has. So it'd be cool if we could get like a bigger engine version, because obviously they offer this engine in their other cars, but I mean, maybe we could get this with like a V6 or something. I don't know. But you can see, I mean, it's still more than adequate from an acceleration standpoint. But I mean, you guys can imagine this with like a turbocharged V6 or something. I think that would definitely be fun. And then you could have something that could compete against the higher performance third row SUVs like the Ford Explorer ST, for example, Dodge Durango RT, all that kind of stuff, because this power wise is kind of more like the entry level side of things. But let's sum things up here with this CX-9. So exterior aesthetic perspective, I think it's a really good looking SUV from the front end. The back end I'm not as in love with, but I still think it looks pretty good. And overall, it looks like a nice large luxury SUV. Interior wise, it's really nice. The only thing that I am going to nitpick is going to be the dash, right? There's a bunch of plastic here, and it's kind of interesting because in the new CX-30 and the new Mazda 3, they actually have like nice leather on the dash, so it's kind of interesting that the CX-9 doesn't have that. So I guess I will nitpick that. And then aside from the dash, seats are fantastic in the interior. Most of the touch points are really nice, like the steering wheel, very nice from a touch point perspective, center console, that kind of stuff. Like resting your arm there feels very comfortable. All that's great. So I guess the touch points are nice. It's just not everything you look at is necessarily nice. But from a design perspective, Mazda has done a really good job. The design with the CX-9 is absolutely beautiful. And then from a driving perspective, it's fun, it's sporty, which you don't usually get with a third row SUV, so that's a huge plus. Steering feel is great, acceleration is strong, but I guess, like I said, the only thing that I would change is maybe Mazda could offer, again, something like a turbocharged V6 with the CX-9 now, just to give us kind of an even more higher, I guess, a higher performance variant on this, instead of putting the same powertrain across the lineup with the CX-9. And yeah, other than that, that is the CX-9. If you're looking for a really good luxury third row SUV, check this out. And yes, emphasis on the luxury part. Now that's going to sum things up for our video on this 2021 Mazda CX-9 Signature. And with all that being said, I'll see all of you in that next video.